To knit square 7, you need to pick up the stitches along the side or selvage edge of square 6. There is a regular pattern repeat for picking up these stitches, which is as follows. Pick up 3 stitches, miss 1 10 times. Pick up 2 stitches, miss 1 7 times. Pick up 1 stitch. And this will give you the correct amount of stitches for the sumptuous square. I'm going to show you on a separate piece of knitting that's lighter in colour how to pick up stitches along a selvage edge. But just before I do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about this picking up repeat, which I've just given to you. So you'll be picking up 3 and missing 1 to row 22, starting at the cast off edge, so that's at the last row of square 6, working your way down to row 22, and up to that point will be where you're picking up 3 and missing 1. That will be 10 times to this point. Then from row 21 down towards the cast on edge, you'll be picking up 2 missing 1 in this section, and then picking up 1 stitch at the very end. Now the reason why there's 2 sort of sets of pattern repeats is because in this section here the beads condense down the row tension, so the number of rows here is more condensed than the number of rows here in terms of measurement. So if you pick up in the way that I've described to you, you should find that your cast on or your first row for your sumptuous square is nice and neat and even. So using this paler coloured sample so you can see more clearly where I'm putting the needle, I'm going to show you where you pick up along a selvage edge. So your cast off edge will be here and your cast on edge will be here. This will be square 6. So what we're doing here is we're putting our needle into the gaps that exist between the edge stitch and the second stitch in. These are the same gaps and bars that we take the needle under to mattress stitch, but instead of going under a bar, you're putting your needle between bars. So if you use your fingers to just open up that knitting, you can see quite clearly these bars and gaps between the bars. It's the gaps that we're putting our needle into. So if we look like this, it's in this channel, if you like, here between the second stitch in and the edge stitch here. So with the right side facing of square 6, you find the very first gap, put your needle through, and then you pull your first loop through that first gap. So that's 1 stitch picked up. You then proceed to the next gap after the bar. Bring the next loop through and then proceed to repeat that again through the next gap. But then in our pattern repeat, we then got to skip a gap. So there's the next bar, there's the gap, but we're going to skip that one and go into the next one instead and pick up 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you're repeating this 10 times. The most important thing is to make sure that you see every bar and every gap. So use a good light to make sure that you don't miss out any gaps where your needle should be going. So we're about to miss one and then go into the next gap. So repeat this 10 times. And when you've done this 10 times, you should be at row 22, at which point then you switch to missing one and then going into picking up 2 stitches. So 1 2, miss 1, and so on. 1, 2, miss 1, and you repeat that all the way to the end of the row, following my sequence that I've set up. If you look at the reverse of the work, you can see that the side edge of square 6 is creating a seam there at the back of the work. But on the front side, you can see that the pickup is nice and neat. If we turn it this way, you can see that the whole stitch there is visible along the seam.